Hi, I'm Chi. I am the owner of cheesekitchencosmetics.com, the website, and the Instagram CKC Hair, and the Facebook CKC Beauty. So, my obsession is hair. I introduced myself on my channel with a video a while back. Sorry, you gotta share this link. And yeah, my obsession is hair. My thing is hair. I want to go out there with the scientific facts about hair and make sure that people, wow, that rain is serious. People don't hear all sorts of nonsense on the internet and straight away go slather stuff on their hair. Because a lot of the things, a lot of the problems we have with our hair are due to our own mistakes. There we go. Live link is available. So who do I have available? Who is just about just now? Oop. I'm gonna have to wait a bit because I told everybody 9 and I'm here at 8:58. I mean, I've been here for 2 minutes already. Just nattering. You're gonna have to excuse the face. Just sitting here talking to myself because that's what you do when you make videos, huh? Oops. Where are we? 1 more minute. I'm not really expecting people to be on time for this, to be honest. But my plan is to go live every Monday. It is Monday, right? Every Monday at about 9 o'clock, because that's when is the best time for me, really. And we can chit chat. It's not going to be a long one, so that people can ask me some questions. We can have a discussion about what people have heard and debunk some things. And then, sorry, I'm fiddling. I tend to do that. And then to undo that thing I've just done. Okay. And then the video will be available for everybody to watch afterwards on my channel. It's just, so you're gonna have to excuse the unmade up face and the tired expression, because generally I am just kind of winding down the same way my kids would be winding down right now. Okay. Nobody yet. This has got me thinking. I'm going to start talking anyway. When people join me, then they join me. Because the thing about this is that it's still supposed to be a useful video. It's a useful resource for people to come and watch on my channel whenever they want to. So no one's here yet, but it doesn't matter. When they arrive, they can ask me questions. So why I say put down the scissors, you don't have to chop off your hair. First of all, what I need people to understand is that hair, like pretty much everything else on the planet, is made out of molecules. Yes, I'm going straight in with the science talk because that's just who I am. Molecules, chemicals. Our hair is a chemical of some sort. Water is a chemical. Coconut oil, it contains chemicals, quote unquote. Everything is a chemical. The beauty of hair, or what is aesthetically pleasing to us, is down to what you do to your hair chemically. So it's all down to the chemistry of your hair. Our hair, I'm going to start talking about things like pH and so on and so forth, but I'll do that in other videos. What we need to understand is that our hair is made of proteins, And because our hair is made of proteins, when we damage those proteins, like hyperextending them, like think of a protein like a rubber band. If you pull a rubber band too far or too many times, it gets stretched to its elastic limit, quote unquote. That's an actual scientific term. It gets stretched past its elastic limit and it cannot shrink back again. So sometimes we do that kind of damage to our hair, which means that you've stretched the protein past its ability to maintain its integrity. So its ability to be strong. You know, you've kind of stretched it. Like if we look at this elastic band here, when I start to stretch it, what happens? If you look here, it looks thicker until I start to stretch, then it looks thinner, right? That makes it weaker. Now that weakness means that it is, I mean, it's a bit obvious. If the hair is, if you've stretched your hair to that extent and it's now weaker, damage can occur much more easily. And if your hair is at that point, can you fix that kind of damage? That's what we're here to talk about today. So that's one type of damage. The other type of damage is mechanical damage, which is what happens when, again, I'm using my elastic band, but I don't think it's really the best one. Let's think of a pencil lead. I don't have one, but what happens when you use your pencil or you sharpened your pencil really sharp and then you press it against the paper? It would start to kind of crumble and break. And if you look at the edges really, really close, you'll see that there's a bit of a serrated edge. It's an uneven, jagged edge. And that's what happens to your hair when mechanical damage occurs. That kind of damage means that the protein that has been bound together, like you've got lots of proteins lined up together, strong, like lots and lots of threads, let's put it that way, of protein bound together to make one hair strand. When you've damaged them, they are no longer able to stick together as well as they would have in their layers, which means that they are, again, weaker, which means you can start to have split ends. I wish I could kind of put things on the screen. I will eventually learn how to do all this stuff, but I'll be able to show you that you start to have split ends. And when you have split ends, that means you can basically, with further damage and further mechanical, like every time you move your hair around, like me doing this, that's me doing something mechanically with my hair. That's movement. Whenever I do something like that, if my hair is, there are splits in my hair, I am kind of giving it the opportunity to split further. What can I think of that would be a good example? I can't think of anything right now. I'll come with better examples next time. But so that's another kind of damage. So mechanical damage. Hi, Mom. Let's see. So yeah, different types of damage. So first of all, what makes people think that their hair is damaged? If you look at your hair and you look at it and it feels dry, you can hear it and it sounds a bit crispy and crunchy, and you can see that you've got split ends and you can see knots and you can see tangles, and you know, not just any tangles. I mean, the ones that you try to get a comb through and you're stuck. And and you try to tease through and you're like, oh, this is a problem. So then you put the comb down and then you get your fingers and you try to, and it's really well knotted up. Now that, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that. You really have to cut that out. The important thing when it comes to actually snipping out damage as you see it. Now that's why I say you don't have to chop off everything on your head. As you see damage, my principle on this type of thing is seek and destroy. You're not going to use this type of scissors. You need to use specialized hair shears, and those hair shears must not be used for anything else. There's a reason for that. Different things have different thicknesses. So paper has a different thickness to hair. Wire has a different thickness to paper. You would have special scissors for cutting wire, and you'd have special scissors for cutting hair. If you use the scissors for paper or for hair, for wire, you're going to damage the scissors, which means that next time you try to cut hair or paper, it won't work very well. I thought I just had to clear that out because people say these things and they don't explain why. If we use our hair shears for, excuse me, even thread has a different consistency entirely to our very, very fine hairs. Our hairs are very fine. You know what I mean? A piece of thread is a lot thicker than that and needs a stronger scissor, like a stronger scissors, quote unquote. You will do a lot different type of damage to the scissors or different type of wear and tear to the scissors than if you just use it for hair. Anyway, I'm going into too much detail. So you need your specialized hair shears. You use them for snipping out damage as you see it. So as you see it, you cut it out. You don't hang in there and try to, and definitely do not. I'm saying this, but I do this a lot because I have no patience, which is why in my last video, I said, if you're short on time or short of patience, do not handle your hair. Just leave your hair alone, because that's not the time to handle it. But yeah. So do not get your comb and go through, and then you're stuck, and then just, oh, I don't have time for this, rip through. That causes that kind of damage I mentioned, where you have your hair strand that's nice and like this, and then you rip off the top, and then you've just got it. It's all like this, because that will lead to split ends. And the cool thing about split ends, cool, quote unquote, is that they'll carry on traveling all the way down the hair strand, causing further damage. The longer you leave them, the more damage they'll do. So you have to snip them out when you see them. So that's snipping hair out when you snipping hair damage out when you see it, which means you obviously don't have to go. Let me grab a piece of my hair like this. So you don't have to take this whole group here like this and snip all of them. There's no need. The hair is healthy, it's happy. Look, there's no need for that. You need to find where there are knots, snip them out. Find where there are splits, snip them out. You don't have to shave the whole thing. It's just not necessary. I'm just talking about a specific level of damage now. So when we're talking about more extensive damage, that's when you have to start making decisions as to what to do. So because everybody can't go around shaving their hair bald every time, they make a hair mistake on their journey, I would suggest using things. I'll go back to what I said earlier about your hair, the beauty of your hair being in how you, it's all in chemistry, really. It's what you apply to it and how you treat the kind of chemical your hair is made of, which is protein. To strengthen your proteins, you need another protein that will bind the hair together. And of course, those things are temporary because it's not the same protein that your hair is made of. It's a different type. If you look at your protein treatments, look on the bottle, it'll say something like hydrolyzed wheat protein. Your hair is not made of wheat. So it's just a temporary fix to kind of help your hair stay together and not cause further damage while you carry on with life. I would advocate that. Now, the idea is, because everybody's hair is different, I won't say that you need to consistently, every single time you wash your hair, put a protein treatment on it, because what can happen is the flip side, which is where your hair becomes crunchy and much more brittle than it should be. You need to balance out your treatments. So first of all, read the instructions on the treatment. There are a few out there. There's Olaplex, which is a really famous one. It has been specially formulated and proven actually to do really well in kind of maintaining the integrity of hair strands. There are some others out there that are Black-owned businesses, natural products, and so on and so forth. Not necessarily, I don't know the process they went into for formulating them, but very simple processes, simple products to help maintain the integrity of your hair strands without necessarily spending 32 quid, because Olaplex is quite expensive. That they are useful if you haven't gone to the extreme end of damage. If your hair is just looking a little unhappy and you feel like, yeah, it's not quite as strong as I'd like it to be. If it feels a little thinner, it feels like it's been hyperextended, and obviously that can happen if you moisturize too much and don't use any protein whatsoever. Again, something that I've done. I'm saying a lot of this is from experience with my hair, experience with other people's hair, and just general neglect. I'm so you get your protein treatment. I would advise every fortnight to every month. I would advise more on the side of every month if your hair is, it's just really tough to say without seeing your hair. So that's why I like to do actual consultations where I see your hair, and why I would advise you actually seeing a trichologist who will have a look at your hair with special equipment that can see, like zoom right into your hair and see what your hair looks like and see what your hair needs. But you know your hair. When I was still kind of a baby natural, or I would call it a teenage natural. I've been natural for a very long time now, so sort of in the middle somewhere. I used to kind of swap my protein treatments and my moisture treatments. My moisture, like I'd use a different mask each week. What's this word? This week I'd use a moisture treatment. This week I'd use a protein treatment. There we go. So every other week I was using one or the other because I would feel in my hair what my hair needed. After a while, I think that was because I was recovering from some sort of damage. The only reason you'd need to use a protein treatment that frequently is if your hair is damaged. Then you can actually stretch it out. And that's going back to video number 1 of the hair commandments, where I said you need to plan and you need to stick to your appointments. So if you do miss that protein treatment, as soon as, like what the doctor says about your pills, as soon as you remember, take it. As soon as you remember, or as soon as you get a moment, do your protein treatment. Because seeing as it's something that you do only, let's say like 3 weeks, every 3 weeks to once a month, you need to do it. Otherwise you'll soon see why you should have done it. It's the whole point of doing a protein treatment as frequently as that. What am I talking about? The whole point of doing a protein treatment at all is to prevent damage, because at the end of the day, if you remember back to when I said that our hair is a protein, our hair is made of cells. Okay, this part of the hair is dead cells. The part that comes out of your scalp, just at the base of your hair strand, still inside your scalp, that part is alive. But once it comes out where you can see the hair, it's no longer alive. And that means that it is susceptible to damage. I mentioned that in video number 2. So just based on that alone, you're basically trying to just stop it from degrading. And I mean degrading, quote unquote, because everything can hurt your hair. The pollutants in the air can hurt your hair. Acid rain can hurt your hair. I mean, just like little bits, and how to explain it. I'm not trying to cause a mass hysteria here, but what I mean is pretty much everything in the environment is out to get your hair. You just need to protect it against those things. Even UV rays can hurt your hair. So because your hair is made of dead cells, UV, the reason we put sunscreen on our skin, or SPF on our skin, is to protect it from damage by UV rays from the sun. The same thing applies to your hair. You don't need to put SPF on your hair. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to find something, or the right products that contain UV protectants. So preventing damage, snipping out damage when we see it, doing protein treatments when you need to do them. And then let's talk about more extensive damage now, and what needs to happen when you do find out that your hair is seriously damaged. Now, when I say seriously damaged, I mean you've done several trims, and I mean proper trims where, like I said, you get a lock of hair and you've had to, chop off a whole lot of it. And somehow the hair still looks unhappy. You've trimmed and you've trimmed and you've trimmed, and it still looks unhappy. That means that the damage has probably gone as far down as your actual roots. That means you're going to have to do a cut, and you might have to do several of them. So the good thing about this is that because of the cycle of hair growth, so where's my little whiteboard? I'm going to show you so you know what I mean. Here it is. So I'm going to do the teacher thing because I really can't help myself. I'm always doing this. So here's your skin. Here's your hair. Okay, so we're looking at the microscopic level here, and I'm not going to bother drawing all these cells here because we don't need that. We're going to talk about this bit here. That is the living bit, right? If there's damage all the way up there somewhere, all the way up there where your hair is growing, where your hair shows above your scalp, and let's say we've had splits all the way down here, going as far down as probably here. Yes? This is the bit we can't see, and the damage has gone this far. When this hair grows out, actually, I'm forgetting something. All right, hold on. All right, let's do this. There's two things I needed to mention. So this is your hair's resting phase. Your hair goes through several phases. Whoops, get that mouse off the screen. No, it's going crazy. Ah, I know why. Okay. So your hair goes through several phases: your resting phase, your growth phase, and your active. I say this without using the actual words. Maybe I should just use the actual words. So when it's being transported out of your hair follicle phase. So at this point, it's still attached. After a while, this bit is going to shrivel up, right? So let's do another one over here. Next phase. All right. And it's going to start to, yeah, it's no longer attached. There we go. That starts to go away. It starts to move upwards. This becomes shorter and shorter and shorter until the hair falls out. That's called normal shedding. Okay. What happens is once that hair sheds, it's shed with all the damage that was attached to it, which is a good thing. So, but the thing is, we can't track shedding. We can't track the shedding. Like we don't know exactly which hair on our head is shedding at which time. They come out when they come out. So why I say you need to probably at that stage when you have extensive damage. Nope. There we go. Why I say you might need to actually cut several times at that stage is because we're talking about damage to most of the hairs on your scalp, which would include some hairs that are so at different times, different times, different hairs are at different stages. So some hairs will have a hair follicle that looks like this, where this one is literally about to fall out. You'll have one that is still growing, still attached, here like this. You'll have one that is, and that should really be longer, that should be shorter. There we go, because that gets smaller. There we go, and then that's eventually just going to shrink, and fall out by itself. And not lots of your hair is doing that at any one time. It's like, I think it's about 10 to 20% of your hair does that at any one time, which means the rest of your hair, 80 to 90% of your hair is still growing and minding its business. So if you're noticing more shedding than that, then that's a different conversation for your trichologist, for you and your trichologist, I mean. And I'm talking about shedding, not breakage. So the difference between shedding and breakage is if you see, when you comb your hair or you detangle your hair, the hair you see may have a little bit of a thing attached to the bottom, a little white thing there. That's how you know it's come out all together. It's shed. Broken hair looks completely different. You'll know. It's just, yeah, broken hair looks different. Okay, so some of your hair is in telogen, some of it is in resting phase, which I think is anagen. And what's the other one? I can't remember. But and then of course, deep in here somewhere, you'll have some that are just starting to grow. Okay, and those are under the surface. You can't see them yet. They will continue to grow until they become long hairs. That's why I said you need to cut and get rid of all the damaged ones and let this process start to happen. Underneath this one, so once this shrivels up, underneath this one, this will start happening. Yeah? Somewhere here, this will start happening. Little hair starting to grow. That's what happens. So because of that, there's my thingy one. Right. I'm only talking about extensive damage. That's if all the hair on your head feels damaged. Now, damaged hair will appear, it won't just feel dry or wiry, it will have a different texture and consistency. It may just, I think I'd need to show you, but I don't have any pictures with me, and I haven't learned how to do the showing you pictures while I'm on live yet. But I will do a video on this, a separate video on this with all the pictures in there so you can actually see what damaged hair looks like. Today we're only talking about why you shouldn't cut your hair, so let's go back. Brain, come on now. I had something in my head and it's gone. It's okay. All right, so what was I saying when I forgot my train of thought? That's so annoying. Okay, so why you should, ha! I remember now. Now, this is after we've ascertained there's damage, right? Now, assessing damage or the lack thereof. I would advertise, I would advise seeing someone else. Like you can actually make the assessment yourself or get a second opinion and or whatever. Get a second opinion from a trichologist or your, I would say hairstylist, but I know that not very many hairstylists. I don't know about not very many, but I don't know very many hairstylists that actually would be able to tell you if they can spot damage. It's an unfortunate thing when it comes to black hair, but it's a reality. I would advise maybe seeing a trichologist or have a video conversation with a trichologist and tell them what's going on with your hair, and they will assess whether or not your hair is actually damaged and needs anything, or whether it just needs some moisture. Because here's the other thing: sometimes our hair is dry. Like before I came on the video just now, my hair was dry and I was just ready to. I was just thinking to myself, should I just chop it off? Should I just start afresh? It's not necessary. It's not always necessary. Sometimes your hair just needs a good old deep condition. And there's a debate about whether or not deep conditioning does anything. Put a deep conditioner in your hair, rinse it out. If it doesn't work, fine. If you see the difference, which 90% of you will, then let's stop with the debate. Yeah. A deep conditioner, especially if you've bought the right one, because that's another thing that we need to discuss on a different video. Products. We need to know what's in our products to know whether they will work or not. A lot of the time we see something that advertises itself as it's going to grow your hair overnight. And first of all, if you hear someone say that your hair is going to grow overnight due to the use of their product, they're lying. Don't buy that product. Or if you've already bought it, throw it away. There is nothing that is going to be a magic bullet that will make your hair grow overnight. There's no such thing. Your hair is always growing. It's about retaining your length, keeping that length that you've achieved on your head, and continue to protect your hair against all those bad things I was talking about in the environment, so that it continues to get longer. And that's why I started doing my hair commandments series, because I wanted to kind of just break down the fundamentals of making sure that our hair just doesn't get bashed and battered and doesn't grow, or looks like it's not growing, because it's about, like I said, it's not about growth, because your hair is always growing. Unless you're actually sick, your hair is always growing. And sometimes if you're deficient, like you're vitamin deficient or like mineral deficient, if you have any nutrients out, like you're missing out of your diet, then sometimes that can slow your growth, but your hair is always growing. Anyway, sometimes it just needs a bit of moisturizing. Sometimes you just need to wash it, because some of the products we use contain silicones, and silicones have a good habit of doing this because they're supposed to. That's what they're designed to do. It's one of their characteristics. You put a silicone on your hair, it does this. Coats your hair, and yes, it keeps whatever moisture was in the hair in there, I suppose, but it also doesn't let any moisture in. Like it won't let any more in. So you will need to wash it off at some point. You need to wash it off. And I just don't like silicones. My hair does not respond well to silicone containing products. Every time I use a silicone containing product, depending on what silicone it is, because I distinguish between the types of silicones that are being used in the products. They have different effects on my hair anyway. Depending on which one it is, it will very effectively coat my hair, make it shiny just for that moment that I put it on, and then proceed to make my hair super dry because my hair needs more moisture but can't get any because the silicone has blocked it out. So yeah, some people will say to you, oh, this whole hype about silicones is a blah, blah, blah. It's a thing that you need to look at on a case-by-case basis. I will do a video on that as well to help us distinguish between the different types of silicones and understand why this type of silicone is going to block up your hair and make sure you don't have any moisture. And this one is not so bad. I still don't like silicones, but at least there are some that are less evil than others. Yeah, so what was I talking about? Let's just do a little summary before I go, which was damage level 1. Snip as you go. Damage level 1. Ooh. Damage level 1. I don't know if this is actually, oh no. I've just realized that there's a possibility that that is backwards for you, but I'll just do it with my hands instead. Damage level 1. When you see your knots and your split ends, just a little bit of a split. I'm not talking about mid-shaft splits, like splits up here rather than there. Snip it out as soon as you see it. It also depends how many you see. If you see just 1 or 2 here or there, just snip them out when you see them and carry on going. Make sure you use your special hair shears that you don't use for anything but your hair. I'm not talking about using it for, don't use it for attachment either. Use it for your hair. Don't even use it for that Brazilian kinky curl. Use it for your hair. That's damage level 1. Damage level 2. Okay, so you grab a lock of hair and you can see different lengths. At the moment, I'm not really grabbing my hair properly. So, and it's also not stretched, so you can't see that it, anyway, doesn't matter about my hair. If you're seeing that as you pull this up here, you can see some bits dipping here, you can see some faded bits, that means that you've got a certain level of damage you need to trim. Trim at that level. If we do this, so this is your head, this is your hair. Your hair does this. You're gonna trim here. It's gonna hurt, but you're gonna trim here. Oh, beg your pardon, maybe a little higher up. There, because that means that this has happened due to damage. And you need to get rid of that damage, get ahead of the damage. So we're trimming up here, not here, okay? So you're gonna start from there with a nice fresh cut with your hair shears, and then it'll grow out nicely. That's damage level 2. Damage level 3. We are talking about the whole hair shaft. The whole hair looks unhappy no matter what you do to it. You condition it, you deep condition it, you steam it, you give it moisture, you slather products on it. We're going to talk about that, but you put everything you can think of on it and it's not responding. Yeah, it might be time for a big chop. That's the only time you will need a big chop. That's in my opinion. Going back to damage level 1 and 2, not level 1, really level 2. At that point, I would use something kind of heavy duty like Olaplex to reduce the chances that the damage will travel down the hair shaft. And then you do your trim. And I don't mean a heavy duty trim. I mean like just a, trim where the line was. Like I said, use your protein treatment. Make sure that your heavy duty protein treatment. Make sure that kind of reduces the chances of you kind of getting more damage. And then continue your healthy regimen to make sure that you retain your length. Damage level 3, you can't use Olaplex to fix that. You do have to shave it off. And then back to level 0. Sometimes your hair just dry and you just need to moisturize it. If you've not washed your hair in a while, or you've just been washing your hair and you haven't conditioned it, or you've been doing this thing where, yes, I've also done this. You get in the shower, you rinse out your hair, you come out, you don't do anything to it. Yeah, you just need to give that hair some TLC and it'll be fine. That's if it hasn't yet degraded into the level where you now have splits and tangles and all those other things. You can sometimes just rescue it with that. You don't need to chop off all your hair. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my live. Hopefully the next one will have, thank you for joining me anyway, but hopefully the next one will have a higher attendance rate and I'll have more questions that I can actually answer in the next one. in the meantime, I've got commandment number 3 coming out on Friday, so stay tuned for that. And I will carry on doing these lives on Mondays. And I think I'm thinking of something special to do for you guys on Wednesdays. So if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And thank you for visiting once again. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh.